All right, did I start recording?
It's recording.
Okay, great. Usually it goes, your meeting is being recorded. I guess I just did that for all of us.
You did it.
Welcome, guests. I am Arcelia. My role at the Viterbi Startup Garage is I manage the space, I help deliver the program, and I do most of the operations. Now, what am I doing here with you is essentially some PR for the garage. A lot of you have questions. I get them all the time through email. And so I figured the best way to tackle our recruiting cycle and essentially just general interest in the garage is to start hosting routine info sessions. And so this is the one that's kicking off our fall recruiting session. And I'm really excited to be meeting you guys in this way. So one thing that I will mention is that it's kind of something I'm trying out. On some of these deck pages will be QR codes. You can pull up your cell phone and just go to that website if that's useful. But I will, after our time together, send out a follow-up email that will include this deck and all of the links that I mentioned. So if you don't want to go through the trouble of using your phone's camera, don't feel pressured to do that right now. Okay, so about the residency program. This is essentially the agenda for today. What's going to be covered is our programs, our resources, and our community. Essentially, that's what we do here. We work on all of these things. Some of them overlap with the extended network in Silicon Beach. Some of them are very, very closely specific to the teams that get accepted into the program. So underneath each of these are some frequently asked questions. I'm going to try to cover all of them. Again, if you guys have any more questions aside from the things that I cover, at the end, we'll do a live Q&A. You don't have to be shy. So when it comes to programs, what are they, who are they for, and how we plan on delivering them? Honestly, the delivery question is something I get more often now than ever before because of the pandemic. People want to know, do I have to be at the garage physical space for these programs? And right now, when I get into that page, I'll explain how we're handling COVID safety and how we're doing our programming and how it's being delivered currently, and our hopes for the future. Resources, what we offer, who receive the benefits. And then also, one of our biggest resources is the location. We're in Marina Del Rey. I'm in the office now. If I look this way, I see oceans, I see boats. It's beautiful here. And so how can you book a visit to come see it? I'll get into that later. And then community, if you're not a resident team, what can you get? If you're an expert, a serial entrepreneur, a VC, if you're basically involved in innovation somewhere in this country, how can you get involved at the garage? And if you're a student at USC, how can you participate? So all those things will be covered today. All right, so programs, like I mentioned, currently they're virtual. I do not know when that's going to end. So if you guys have that question later, I don't know. We'll see. I hope that we will be able to turn around health and safety in this country at some point, but the garage is currently open for occupancy at a certain rate, but our programs, what we deliver, it's going to stay virtual, mainly because those are large scale events and we want to make sure everybody stays safe. So most things on this list are dedicated to our resident teams. That means they went through the application process and were accepted into the program, but I'll mention the ones on this list that anyone can participate in. So the business boot camp is, it's built around the synchrotron program, which was born out of the NSF I-Core program that I'll get into a little bit later. It takes an 8-week business acumen training into a truncated 2-day boot camp for our startup founders once we kick off here for the cohort. Naturally, we're a tech incubator, which means that the founders are either engineers or researchers. They're not business experts and they don't exactly know how to commercialize their technology. And so that business boot camp is meant to really help founders figure out the basic components of translating what they are building technologically into a commercialized business. and that they are all speaking the same language. Founder Circle is something we do weekly. It happens on Fridays. And like the easiest way to describe it, it's group therapy for founders. We all come together. We report out on our weekly goals from the week before. We set our goals for the next week. We hold each other accountable, but more than anything, we support each other. If you are a startup founder and you're on this call, you probably understand the challenges that you're up against. It's like swimming upstream, and it can become a very lonely road. So Founder Circle is a way for you to feel a lot less alone and get the support from people who are essentially signing up for the same level of crazy that you are. Legal clinics happen bi-monthly. We do have some partnerships with different firms that we get some great services from. Stubbs Alderton provides our legal clinic, a gentleman by the name of Kevin DeBray. He's fantastic. He comes in every other month and does a presentation tailored specifically for our teams and their needs on things like term sheets, seed financing, how to founder agreements, things that founders technically need and probably cannot afford because legal services are expensive. So they opt for the boilerplate and oftentimes make mistakes. And we don't like to see the VSG founders do that. And so we provide them these resources for free. VC Angel office hours. So again, if you guys are startup founders here and maybe you have done your first or second round of attempting to raise money, you know that you're not always going to get unadulterated feedback from the no's. They're just going to say no. So our VC Angel office hours is an opportunity for you to pitch to a panel of investors, whether they're angel or venture capitalists, and for them to unapologetically give you the feedback that you deserve every time you're out raising a round. And so it's really useful and teams really appreciate the honest feedback from the other side. ISI Tech, the Tech Exchange. So we are positioned in a building with the Information Sciences Institute, which is also a department at USC Viterbi. They are leading researchers in so many technical fields. And so we decided to take advantage of that by twice a year, allowing our teams to present to a room of researchers their latest technical challenge and have those researchers give suggestions and weigh in on how they can find solutions and essentially maybe find some advisors or partners to join their venture. And then there's Summer Smasher, which is our student-facing program where we get students from the university to come do projects for our teams over 8 weeks in the summer. It's my favorite program. I'll talk about that later. So again, all of these programs that I just mentioned are currently virtual. Some of them, even after we get through the pandemic, will remain virtual just because we've had some really great success in expanding our network, getting people to talk that we wouldn't have been able to because now we have the room to do that. And also by we are able to broaden our audience because now we don't have to stuff a bunch of people into our beautiful space. We can host it virtually. So it's been a really great opportunity for us. Okay, resources. So this is a hybrid approach because like I said, we are reopening the space and we do want to encourage our next founders who we bring in for our fall cohort to feel comfortable and to utilize the office. So, but I'll start with the virtual resources. We have mentors who provide tactical and strategic advising every week through office hours. We call them innovators in residence. They're amazing. So that's something that is a huge resource for the teams. If you are doing your office hours, it means that everything that you're thinking about, you get to bounce it off of a seasoned generalist, somebody who has seen it all and done it all, who can really help you kind of sharpen up the edges of that sword. Legal office hours. So this is connected to our legal clinic. Kevin DeBray offers some 30-minute legal office hours after each bi-monthly presentation. They don't have to be associated with the topic, but essentially you get 30 minutes free to just talk with him about whatever it is that you need in terms of legal support and advising. And again, those are specifically for the teams at the garage. Also, AWS credits, we have a really great partnership with AWS. You basically get 30K in services, 25 of those are credits, and 5 of them, 5K is business support, and you get those for 2 years. So while you're here with us incubating for a year, you'll have those services and you'll have them for a year afterward. If you guys have any specific questions about legal office hours or AWS credits, I'm really happy to connect you to our partners on that as well. The in-person resources are all, it's the space. The space is very beautiful. We also, dedicate a great deal of space for team growth. If you guys come in here with just 2 founders and a lot of dreams about scaling, we want to see your team get bigger while you're here. And so there's plenty of space for teams to grow. We incubate about 10 to 12 teams every year, and we take in cohorts every 6 months, and we take in about 5 to 6 teams each cohort. We also offer conference rooms and breakout rooms in case you wanted to do something a bit more private. The main garage floor is an open plan. And so part of the reason that it's important for it to be open is so that ideas and support can be exchanged readily between startups. But if you do have some private meetings that you need to have, or you want to host an investor to come through here or anything really, there's plenty of space for that as well. And then snacks and coffee, but that goes without saying. You should get snacks and coffee at every office. Okay, so the VSG community. Silicon Beach, it's where we live, and we love having guests. And so we want to make sure that people who are not residents at the garage feel welcome to utilize the garage and garage resources so long as they're available to them. So that's startups, mentors, and students. So for startups, for instance, if you do not get into the garage the year that you applied or the cohort that you applied, obviously apply again and again. We like to see teams track. We collect a lot of data when you do your application. And one of the things that we do when we vet teams who've applied multiple times is we like to see how much you've grown since your last application. So don't feel like a one and done with the application. But we also offer a slew of open events and events that we're affiliated with. So the Oceanside Chats, like I mentioned earlier, we bring in seasoned entrepreneurs, specialists in technical fields, investors, and other incubators and accelerator programs, mostly accelerator programs that we're partnered with so that we can support you while you're here, but also when you leave. And so those are open to the community. And I actually, luckily, because we've been doing everything virtually, have a nice archive of past videos that I will send out in the wrap up of this info session, so that because those resources are open and free, you can utilize that library to your benefit. NSF Regional I-Core training. So actually, I don't know if she's available to go on camera, but Precious McClendon, who manages operations for that program, is on the call. And that QR code there is a landing page for her mailing list. So Precious, are you there? Or, oh, I see, she popped it into the chat. So if you guys want to know a little bit more about the National Science Foundation I-Core program, you can go to any of those links in the chat. You can use the QR code, and Precious is your go-to person for that. And then the Tech Scouting Workshop. So that is a networking event. The likelihood of us doing a Tech Scouting Workshop this year is very unlikely. It's not something that can translate very easily into the virtual space. And so we really do look forward to having an in-person amazing Tech Scouting Workshop next year. And if I'm wrong about that, Precious, please just drop that in the chat, but I'm pretty sure we're waiting for a 2022 Tech Scouting Workshop at this point. Mentors, you know, I can't say enough about the USC community of business alumni, engineers, you name it. They are always so happy to come back to USC and provide their support pro bono in all of these different ways. I think they love to build their networks. Maybe that's something that's taught at USC, maybe there's something in the water, but we get a lot of people who are doing well out in the real world coming back and giving back to the USC community. So a lot of our mentors come from that, but we also just have built out such a great network and we're still building it. So if you are out there and you are successfully growing in one way or the other, or you have an expertise that you would like to share with us, please be in contact with us. I would love to find out how we can mutually benefit each other. And then students. I mentioned the Summer Smasher, but also the Oceanside Chats. You know, students are interesting because you guys are essentially developing, you're in your little developmental stage, which means that you're not exactly sure what your next big move is going to be. Right now, you're just learning. So you might have ideas about being your own startup founder. You might want to avoid getting into corporate America and want to be on a startup team, maybe not found it yourself, but be in that space, in that world. Maybe you just want to know a little bit more about it. We have lots of really great programs through our office, but also here at the garage. And the Summer Smasher program is also a great opportunity for you to learn a lot about that. So here are some key dates for anyone who's on this call. For the residency program, our application for the fall cohort is live now and it deadlines this Sunday. For our spring cohort coming in 2022, the dates are up there. February 24th, the application will go live and it will deadline on April 3rd. I will also have another info session right before that spring cohort. So in case you think of something between now and then and you don't apply in the fall, you can come on that and ask me questions then. Summer Smasher, the dates for the live application, the info session, and the deadline are there. The Summer Smasher application is a two-part application. So this is simply the first round application cycle. But if you come to the info session, that'll all be clarified, that entire process of how to get matched up with a team here at the garage. Now, this is just my plug page. So that the QR code on the left is our application. If you're a team and you're interested, apply. You never know. If you feel like you are a little too early for us, then, come back in the spring. And then I also wanted to add a QR code specifically for the office that we operate out of. The Viterbi Startup Garage operates out of the Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship office at the Viterbi School of Engineering. So, under the direction of Alice Meng, we actually do a lot of really great programming specifically for students, student-facing, academic programs, competitions. A lot of that is like feeder for us as a garage, as an incubator. But we also support faculty and research and commercialization. And so, if you are at all interested in innovation, I would suggest going to our website, seeing all the things that we do and getting in contact with the right people. We're currently really updating our website. So if there's information that's missing there that you need, some other questions, there's an About Us page and it'll hopefully direct you to the right person. If you still can't find it, just come to me and I'll help you out. All right, and then here's the page on how to book a chat with me. It's basically my office hours, and book a visit to the garage in case you want a little bit of a tour and seeing what it's like. There's a shuttle that brings you from campus to here if you are from USC, so you don't have to drive, but any guests are guests of mine, and so I'll obviously, welcome you. If you drive here, I'll validate your parking and you can have a really great time just seeing the space and seeing what we do. So those are the two Calendly links to book that time. Now, that's it. That's my whole info session as far as I have set it up. But now I really want to make sure that you guys get an opportunity to ask specific questions because I didn't get into the weeds about a lot of things. purposefully, I wanted to have more of an organic conversation with you. So take it away, anyone who has questions.
I could start.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Hi, I was wondering, what does the timeline look for like the spring, if we apply in the spring instead of the fall? Like when would that kind of like cohort start and finish? Because I know the deadline was what, or in April?
Mid-April. Yeah, we're constantly looking at our applications, and we usually take about 2 weeks to set up interviews, to review applications, set up interviews, and then make decisions. We like a quick turnaround on those things. And so I would say mid-April would be the kickoff for the spring cohort.
And how long would that last until?
It's a 1-year residency program.
Great. And then could you talk a little bit more about the summer program too?
Yeah. Summer Smasher. So Summer Smasher is, we do like to support our engineering students, but it's open to students who are in the Marshall business, anyone who's interested in innovation, really. The only caveat is you have to be a current student. You apply essentially to get 2 things. You get some programming from us. We do 8 weeks of training on what it means to be an entrepreneur by introducing you to people and also to some concepts through our labs. Then you also, the other side is you get to essentially be in a startup for 8 weeks by tackling a project that they prepare specifically for either one or a group of students to do. And it all culminates after 8 weeks with a big presentation and a certificate. And it's just a really great opportunity to see what it's like to be in the startup world. We typically do it in person, and the expectation is that the students will come here and work here a couple days, 3-4 days a week during the summer on their projects with their teammates. The last 2 Summer Smashers have been virtual, and so we've done most of our interactions on Slack and Instagram, and then obviously the projects that you do, you organize how you manage those projects with your team, with the startup team, and with anyone who you're doing those projects with. And it's been wildly successful. We grow every year. It becomes pretty cutthroat in terms of applications, and so I encourage everyone to participate, and I want to host everyone, but at the end of the day, it is a really, really difficult program to get into.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Adam. Any other questions?
I have a question. If we think if we're not quite sure whether we are better suited for the fall cohort or the spring cohort, would you recommend kind of applying to both? Is that kind of something that you recommend?
Yeah, there is no downside to applying early in my mind. I'm part of, the whole recruiting process, and there isn't like a strike against a team who applies too early. You'll just look like a team who's applied too early. And again, I think that the benefits to that, startups are all about relationship building, which means that, if you introduce yourself early, that's fine, so long as within the time of your first introduction to where you reintroduce yourself, something has happened, right? Because what you don't want to show is that absolutely nothing has happened over a 6-month period or over a year. And so like the real onerous of growth falls back on you. I'd say if you're worried about it, you'd only have to worry about your own ability to get something done in 6 months' time, because we'll be able to see that growth in the application.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I have a quick couple of questions for me.
Yes.
One, are alumni allowed to apply for the VSG?
Of course. Yeah, so VSG is industry agnostic, meaning any tech industry out there or any industry out there. And the only expectation is that technology is enabling your business. So we're not looking for consumer products that are not at all technical. We do play some favorites. We want to support the university. And so any affiliation you have with the university, we look at those applications a little bit longer and really try to support the USC community, especially the Viterbi School of Engineering, because they pay for all of this to occur. So, so yes, affiliation to the university is good. You could be a current student, you can be faculty, you can be staff, you can be alumni, all of that is really, really great in an application. But we also take applicants and people who are innovating just in general. We want it to be a kind of LA-based startup. So if you're not based in LA, it's a tough sell. It's not to suggest that we won't take those teams, but those are separate conversations. What we really want are teams who are ready out of an office space here in LA. And so if that's where you are, then you're a good fit.
Great. And then just another quick question. Do you have figures on the acceptance rate statistics?
Well, so, I mean, the rate is based on the application pool, right? However many applicants we get, that rate will either expand or get smaller. But we only, so just in terms of what we accept, each cohort is 5 to 6 teams max. So that means, you know, that we'll always have a cohort of about 10 to 12 teams. Now, that doesn't mean that we just take in anyone. If we don't feel like there are really good applicants in our pool, then we'll take less than that. We don't, it's not like we're trying to hit a number. What we're trying to do is get the right teams to incubate with us. So for instance, in our last round, which was a virtual round, we only accepted about 3 teams out of our entire pool of applications, but we can take up to 6 teams.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions? I'm going to check really, oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask, you did mention industry agnostic, but are there industries that you guys are kind of hoping to see in this particular season? Cohort?
Well, you know, some industries get pretty hot, but we don't really follow trends. I think we, if we really want something special, we look at the technology, right? We like really deep tech. We like engineers who are truly innovating in spaces and changing the way we interact with our world. We do like disruptors. So we take B2B SaaS teams, you know, it's like maybe less deep technology, but still completely disrupting spaces with technology. I think those teams are really great. The deeper tech teams are the ones that we like to really focus our attention on.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Adam, do you have a question?
Yeah, on that note of like your preference for deeper tech in the startups, do you guys, or have you guys accepted before startups that don't necessarily use some like more advanced technology in their startup, maybe like a web app based?
Yeah, that's kind of like what I was mentioning earlier. So like software as a service team, we have so many of them in our portfolio. Part of the reason is because teams like that are wildly successful because they can move so quickly and laterally. They are not pigeonholed. They can pivot. And, you know, investors really like those types of teams. And so we do not close the doors to, you know, a shallower technology simply because we want to strictly bring in deep technologies into the space. But we do like a balance because, you know, because we are out of the engineering school, the stories that we really like to consume and send out into, you know, the ether are the really big stories about people who are using new and advanced technologies to completely open up spaces in the market. Any other questions? Does anyone here, just because we have some time, have a venture that they want to do a quick pitch on?
I'd love to pitch mine.
Oh, okay, let's hear it.
I was hoping you'd say that. So I've started a autonomous firefighting company that seeks to end the destruction of wildfires in California. I've actually got a patented sprinkler system already that is going to be tech enabled to automatically protect property from wildfires as they approach.
Interesting. Very good. And what exactly is the technology?
So I'm building out a bunch of IoT technology, sensors, and other weather detection systems to determine how fires would move across an environment and how quickly it would approach your property. It would have a lot of network effects because I would have a lot of these sensors scattered throughout property and residences. And so I'd be able to get data that's, on the ground and exact and cloud connected. So I'll have the most precise weather data anywhere in California where my systems are.
I really love technology and businesses that take granular data and help to create predictive resources for us. This is that's the future, right? We have so much data. We're collecting all this really great data. What are we doing with it? So what are you?
Yeah.
Anyone else out there have the interest in pitching their business? No, okay. Well,
I'm down to share.
okay.
Sorry, I keep turning on and off my camera. My name's Weston. I'm the CEO and founder of Watershield. And essentially what we're doing is we're creating bio-inspired adhesion technology to help cancer patients have a safe, comfortable shower. We just ran this through Messiah Grand Competition, and we were lucky enough to come out of the winners. And so we have some money to go towards our IP patent filing. But where we're at right now is just really building out the MVP. We're kind of still at the prototype stage. But I was a cancer patient myself. I'm actually going through my 4th treatment. So I'm actually hopefully, going to use my product itself to cover my catheter line. But that's what we're really doing right now. And the only question about whether we're too early or not is because ultimately, building that MVP is priority number 1, and having those resources from mentors and advisors and stuff like that. Maybe that'd be a little bit better suited when we're further down the patent filing stage and looking more in the fundraising side.
Don't sell yourself short. You can obviously benefit from the things that we have here. I would say apply. And also congratulations. I actually heard about your
Thank you.
victory through an email chain.
A lot of good teams. I'm still surprised, to be honest.
Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. I think I'm going to close out now. Again, everyone who's on here, anyone who's registered will get a wrap-up email from me that'll include a video of this, the deck, all the links that I mentioned. And in response, if you guys had questions that maybe you were too shy to ask in front of everyone, please feel free to email me. But I do encourage you guys to book time with me or to book a visit. It's the easiest way to interact. And I'm excited to start interacting with people. So thank you guys all for coming. And I look forward to all of your applications, whether it's for the residency program or for Summer Smasher. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.